become medical officer or become a doctor or a medical student. Is there any other goals? I want to become someone, nursing, nurse, MLT, or whatever the things. No, right? So that's good. That's good to have a goal which which is the difficult most or the superior most goal should be taken as your target, right? So if you, now I will tell you like this. If you want to enter the medical faculty and if you want to become a doctor, right, your goal should not be, your goal should not be the profession of doctor, or just my goal is entering the medical faculty. Is it the goal? If it is the goal, I will tell you, it should not be the goal. Why? Then what should be the goal? Entering the art faculty or commerce management faculty? No. Why? Now, if you take a goal, majority of you will try to achieve that goal. But some will achieve the goal, some will win the match, and some will lose. Right? But I will give you a different goal, different target. Right? Now, you take your goal or the target as I will be the island first. What do you think about that target? Mukohitan, right? Is it impossible? Possible. Island first is a same student like you who eats 3 meals per day and who has 4 limbs and a head and neck, right? So same kind of student like you will become the island first. So you take a, such a different or such a difficult target. Then if you uh, instantly miss that target, that's okay. At least you will end up by entering the medical faculty, isn't it? So from today onwards, your target not to become a medical officer or the doctor, your target is to become the island first. So some of you will become, oh, sure, they will, you will become island first, and some will become district first, or at least a district rank, or at least you will end up with entering the medical faculty, right? So you take that goal, and after taking that goal, you go and sleep. Will it do the job? This one for me. Right? So you take the target, and after taking the target, what you are going to do? I have the target. I am going to become the island first, and I go home and sleep. Will it do the job? No. So how you are going to achieve that target, right? The first thing, now there are some important things to achieve a target. The first thing is, as I told you earlier, you should have a clear idea about what you have to do, right? You should have a clear idea about what you have to do, right? So what is the syllabus? What are the units or what are the topics of the lessons that I have to learn? And how much of time available with me to cover all these units, right? So you should have a clear idea about the syllabus and the exam patterns, right? Now, I hope that you have started chemistry and physics classes. The teachers have told you about the exam format, isn't it? Right. So you have two papers, part one and part two, MCQ paper, and Part one is MCQ paper. And part two, you have two sections, structured essay questions and essay questions, right? And you have 10 units to cover. Okay. So before you start the course, you get a rough idea about what you have to do, right? Number one. Number two is you should have a good study plan, right? What do you mean by study plan? We'll have a chat. It's okay to talk. Have you heard of timetable? Yes. Have you worked according to a timetable? No. Good. What is the difference between the timetable and the study plan? In the school, you will have a timetable. They are giving a timetable on Monday. This is science, maths, English, and music likewise. And in A levels also, you will have a timetable. This period, chemistry, physics, biology, likewise, you will have a timetable. I am asking you to get involved with the cooperate with the study plan. What is the difference between timetable and study plan? I'll in a separate day I'll explain you in um, elaborate more on how to make a study plan. But just to have an idea, now timetable is now if you want to make a timetable for your studying, that means you are allocating a time for the subjects, for 3 subjects, right? And make a plan. But study plan means you allocate time for all the things other than studying. You take 24 hours. You have 24 hours per day. So you allocate the time that you are in school. You allocate that the time that you need for your meals and your personal things, right? So you allocate time for all the things other than studying. Then you are left with a time period, right? So as for sleeping and all these things, you allocate time. Right? So in 24 hours, just imagine that you have allocated about 18 hours for schooling, meals, sleeping, having a chat with your girlfriend or boyfriend, or having a chat with your mother or siblings, right? So you allocate each and every, you identify that thing and allocate time for that. And then you are left with the rest of the time, right? Now that, then you use that time and allocate that time for the studying, right? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, take 7 days. Study plan should be made maximally for 7 days, for 1 week. For the next week, you have to make it again. For the next week, you have to make it again. So you know the plan for 1 week, what you have to do. Any parties, any trips, any matches, right? Put everything there, right? And take the remaining time and allocate that remaining time for the 3 subjects and make the study plan, right? So, and regular revisions, you want to, now you are learning the things, you are working with a study plan. And while you are working, while you are studying, during this 2 years period, right, you have to do revision by yourself. Don't wait until the sir or the teacher starts the revision class again. And when is the revision class? Now, everything, studying, learning, revision, question practicing, all those things, memorizing, all those things should be done by yourself, right? And finally, you should be in a good health to all these things, right? So don't allocate all your intention, all your efforts, all your sacrifices towards the studies. Just have a balanced life. Listen to some music. Okay, but allocate some time. Allocate the exact time, how much of time I am allocating for listening to music and watching a drama. Okay, play some cricket or whatever the thing, right? And have a balanced life. You need physical exercise for to have a physical well-being and also to have a good mental well-being. Okay, right. So this is how you are going to achieve the goal, right? So Just going back. All right. So this is to get some idea. Now, if you are going to uh, now you will sit for the exam and you will pass with the island rank or the district rank. And these are the universities that you can go, you can enter to study the medical science, right? To become a doctor, right? You have 11 universities and more than 2,000 students, around 2,500 students are taken for these faculties: Colombo, Peradine, Jaffna, Ruhuna, Kalaniya, Sri Jawadanapura, Rajarata, Eastern, Wayamba, Sabaragamuwa, Moratuwa, right? So these are the universities. And assume that 5% of you will enter the medical faculty, and what will happen to the rest 95%? Right? It's not working. Right. Now, one important thing. Now, you don't want to get worried that if I am not selected for the 5%, and if I am not selected for that 2000 category, what will happen to me? Will you be a loser? Will you be get lost? No, right? Just imagine most of the students who select biology, they have the only dream of becoming a doctor, and they don't know what will happen if I am not selected for the medical faculty, right? There are huge pathways. There are so many pathways that you can select if you are not selected for the medicine. For example, right? You have dental, you have veterinary sciences, right? And agriculture and management, agriculture and food science and nutrition has a high requirement and is a very good field. You know, there are some nutritionists who are doing a well reputed jobs, and they are recruited for the food companies with high salaries, right? And Ayurvedic medicine and surgery are there, right? You can become Ayurvedic doctor or Unani medicine, Siddha medicine, and biology sciences, applied sciences, health promotion, and nursing degree. You have a BSc degree in the universities, right? And pharmacy degrees, medical laboratory sciences, radiography, physiotherapy, and biochemistry and molecular biology, fisheries and marine sciences, environmental conservation and management, animal sciences and fisheries. Now, these are rare degree programs which has a high level of academic and career opportunities with high grade salaries, right? Believe me. And food production and technology management, agriculture, resource management and technology, agribusiness management, green technology, animal science, export agriculture, aquatic resource technology, occupational therapy and optometry, applied chemistry, indigenous medicinal resources, aquatic bio resources, urban bioresources, right? There are about 35 degree programs that you can enter, right? So you have lot of opportunities. So don't get afraid, but keep your target at the island first place and be relaxed that you have enough opportunities, right, to win your life. Okay. So with that short introduction, we'll try to start learning the biology. And I told you that before starting the journey, you should have a clear idea about what you have to learn. So today, at the first phase, I'm going to give you some idea about what are the units that you have to learn and what is your syllabus and what are the material or the subject matters or the facts that are comprised in those units or the lessons, right? Now, now, I want to tell you another thing, right? Now, in A-level science, right, either biology chemistry, or physics, in each subject in A levels, we are teaching from the very basics, right? So you don't want to worry that if someone has missed something in O level science or maths, that's okay. Now here in A levels, we are teaching from the very bottom, on the very basics, the grade 9, grade 10, grade 11 theories and facts are also given, right? So forget about the O levels, forget about any missing parts in O levels. You can start from zero in biology and physics and chemistry. All these three subjects we are teaching from the very basics, right? So you have 10 lessons in your biology course, right? 10 units, 10 lessons. Okay. And you have what is the time that you have to study these 10 lessons? Yes, roughly 2 years. We'll forget about 2 years and 3 months. So we should plan to finish this off within 24 months, right? So you have 2 years, 24 months, and 96 classes, right? Within 96 classes, we have to finish the syllabus off, right? So now we'll have some idea about what are the lessons that we have, right? I told you that the subject is starting from the very basics. Um, okay. So the first lesson that you have to learn is the introduction to biology. This is not the topic of my presentation. This is the first unit, right? So in the first unit in your syllabus, we are teaching what is biology, the basic principles of biology, and what are the basic areas, the important areas which are dealing with the concept of biology, right? So in the first lesson, you will have an idea about very, very important basics about the biology, the science of biology, right? It is the smallest lesson out of this 10, right? So planned, uh, if someone is thinking that we have only 9 lessons, that is quite okay, right? But still, some of the MCQs and some of the structured essay questions are asking from this unit also. And only in 1 year, they have asked the essay question also with the first year in 2017 with the new syllabus, right? So, right. So this is the first lesson that they will teach you. They will give you a good sense about what is biology. Okay, right. Now the second lesson that you have to learn is about the cell, right? You know, all the biology. Now I tell you, I will define you later also, but for the time, I will tell you what is biology. Biology is dealing with what? Now, if you take this whole world, right? If you take this whole earth, this planet, all the things there in this planet can be divided into two arms, either this category or this category. What are these two categories? You name whatever the thing on this earth, you can divide either to A group or B group. What are those? Very good. One part, one arm is the living things. The other part is the non-living things, right? This board, smart board, table, chair, you name whatever the thing. So all these things are non-living things. And on this earth, and there are living organisms, living things, which has life on them, right? Both things we can touch and see, right? But these things, the non-living things, they don't have a life in it. But living organisms, they have a life, right? So all this, when you consider these living organisms, right, they are made up of a basic brick. All the organisms are made up of one brick. Some has only one brick, and some are made up of multiple bricks, right? What is that basic unit of life? Cell, right? So every organism is made up of a cell. Some have only one cell, and some are made up of multiple millions and trillions of cells, right? So in biology, the concept of cell is very, very important, right? Now, by the time I am reading you, we'll write the name of the units also. Take the first page of your note, and the first lesson is Introduction to Biology. Introduction to Biology, right? For the online guys, I will give you the note uh, with the discussion of the institute. I will upload the note to for your reference, right? Okay, so the first lesson is Introduction to Biology. And the second lesson, you are going to learn about the cell, right? In the cell, what we learn is the structure and the function of the cell, right? Now, if you take a organism, if you take a cell, there is a structure, there is a body which we can see and which we can understand and study, right? Body or the structure means the what we can see. So the cell also has a structure with the covered with the plasma membrane, and there are so many organelles, nucleus and everything. So in this unit, you are going to study the structure plus each of these cells and each of these components of a cell has a function, their own function. The plasma membrane has its function. Each and every organelles, mitochondria, chloroplasts, Golgi bodies, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus, all these have their own function, right? So in this unit, this is a quite big unit, right? And I'll tell you the percentage also while I'm describing. Now, this is a rough percentage, right? Now, Introduction to Biology, the first unit is about 1% from the syllabus, right? It's about 1%. Now, studying about the chemical and cellular basis of life, the second unit, it's about 12% of your whole syllabus, right? Okay. Then the third unit that you have to study is the evolution and diversity of organisms, right? Now, this arrangement of units in your syllabus also have done in a scientific manner, right? They starts from the basics and it goes like a story, okay, right? So starting with the introduction, then the cell, and third one is the evolution and the diversity of the organisms, right? Evolution means what? What do you mean by evolution? Yes, some change in organisms which occurs within long period of time, and that change in characteristic or a quality or a trait is transmitted to the next generation and it is inherited. So that is evolution. Now scientists, they believe the whole biosphere, right? Biosphere means all the bioorganisms on this earth is made up of, and they they are diverted from a common ancestor, right? On this earth, they believe that on this earth, first a unicellular organism originated, right? From that one cell on this earth, they have diverted and they have transformed to the modern world that you can see today. You have huge set of animals, huge types of plants, and so much varieties of fungi, bacteria, viruses. And what they believe is all these things started from a one cell which originated billions of years ago on this earth, right? So that process, now some of the scientists, they have proposed some theories how this evolution has become, right? So that part is taught in this lesson, right? And the diversity. What do you mean by diversity? Evolution is how this change has occurred. from one cell to multicellular organisms. And also, because of this evolution, now you have so many animals, so many plants, so many bacteria, fungi, whatever the name, that's a huge variety of organisms, isn't it? Ne? Right? So that variety, that difference is called the diversity, right? Got it? Diversity means the difference between species and difference between even within the same species. Now all of us are in the same species, humans, right? But we have a difference, right? I'm different from you. So that difference, that variety, right, is called the diversity. Is it important or not? Diversity. Very important. Without the diversity, the world, the whole earth will not exist, right? So you will learn about the diversity uh, from the unit 3 and unit 4. Now we are moving ahead, right? Lesson 4 is plant form and function. Now, with the evolution, starting with the cell, then we learned about the evolution and the diversity. And then lesson 4 is you learn the structure and the function of plants. Now, plant is a kingdom. There is a huge variety among plants, but commonly you are going to learn about the types of plants and their structure. What are the structures? What are the types of plants and how you classify the plants, and what is the function of these plants, right? So I didn't give you the percentage, right? So the evolution and third lesson, evolution and the diversity of the organisms, it is 7%. 7% of the syllabus. This is a rough calculation, right? Considering the subject matter that you have to learn. And uh, most probably, the percentage of the questions that they ask from the paper is related to this proportion, right? Then you can have an idea what are the subjects what are the units that are more important, right? So the plant learning, studying about the plant is about 9%, right? Number 5 is animal form and function, right? Now, in this unit, you are going to learn about the animals, right? Now, you learned about the plants in lesson 4, and this one is about the animals, right? Now, basically, if the topic is like this, animal form and function, the majority of this unit is teaching you about the human body, right? Human anatomy and function, right? So now you are targeting to become doctors, right? So after entering the medical faculty, you are going to treat whom? Patients, human beings, right? So for that, we are teaching the anatomy and the physiology, that is the structure and the function of the human being. And if you can study it well, and if you can answer the questions they ask from about human body very well, then you can win this game. Now, this is the largest unit in your syllabus. Out of 10, this is the largest. And believe me, 1/3 of your syllabus is from this unit. So 1/3 of the questions are asked from this unit. So if someone studied this unit for the whole 2 years, he can take 35 marks out of 100 without knowing anything about other subjects. But don't do that, huh? Right? Okay. And because of the quantity of this unit, it is divided to 2 sections. Uh, Unit 5, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 is taught in the grade 12, and Part 2 is starting with the grade 13 book, right? So, uh, so the percentage is 31%, right? 31%. is from this unit, right? So grade 13 also the same unit, animal form and functions, right? Then number six, that unit is genetics, right? So you know something about genetics. Now genetics, genes, the DNAs are the ones that they have written the genetic formation, or the genetic, it's like the horoscope, what you show with your characteristics, with your with your body figures and everything is written on DNA, right? So you learn about these genes and how these uh, characteristics or the features are transmitted to the next generation from the parents' generation. All these things are uh, studied during this genetics unit, okay? And it is about 8%. It is about 8%. And after the genetics, then you have the molecular biology and DNA recombinant technology. Now, this is also a quite interesting unit, right? And now with the development of the science, now the scientists, they are capable of identifying the DNA strands, and they are capable of identifying the specific genes which are responsible for specific uh, characteristics, and they can manipulate it, right? They can cut a gene from one cell, and they can cut and paste like thing for the other cell. And there are so many things that you can learn from this unit, okay? And it is about 11%. It is about 11% of the syllabus. And unit 8, right? It is about the environmental biology. Environmental biology. Environmental biology, right? Is it important for biology? Why? Now you told me that the whole world have two categories, either living things and the non-living things, biotic and abiotic things, right? Now there is a balance between these two, right? Can we, as the living organisms, live without non-living things? No, we need them, right? Without abiotic things on this world, biotic people, biotic organisms, they can't survive, right? So there should be a balance, a good interaction between these two arms. That is called the environment. So if you lose this balance, you will have to face so much of problems, right? And you can't survive in a safe manner. Okay, so that thing have to be learned as biologists, as science, as students who learn biology. Environmental biology is a very good and very important thing that everyone should learn, right? So that is about 8% of the syllabus, environmental biology, unit 8. Okay, right. Then number 9, the unit before the last one, that is about the microbiology. Now, what do you mean by microbiology? Now, if you take this whole biosphere, some of majority of these organisms you can see from your naked eye, isn't it? You can see me, you can see a tree, you can see elephant, you can see dog, cattle, hen, whatever the thing, right? Now, there are some organisms which you can't see from your naked eye, right? So you have to use another device like light microscope or electron microscope or whatever the thing, right? So the organisms which you can't see from your naked eye is called microorganisms. And the science that you learn about These microorganisms are called microbiology, which is they are very important scientifically, medically, and agriculturally. They are very important, right? So learning about the microbiology is unit 9, and it is about 7%, right? Now these percentages are, they don't ask at the exam, don't buy at those things, right? Just to get an idea about what we have to do and what are the proportion of the the strength of these units, right? So the last one is applied biology. And applied biology is now how do you apply these concepts of biology uh, when you live on this earth, when and how they are used for various fields like agriculture, industry level, and those things. And it is about 6%, right? Okay. Right. So that is about a rough idea about what you have to do within these 2 years of time, right? So you have 24 hours, so 24 months to cover up all these things, right? So just about 10 units, right? We'll finish it. And I'll remind you again, now from the very first day until you finish the last lesson, you have to be thorough with consciousness, and you have to understand what we are teaching, and you have to read it, you have to learn it, and you have to practice it. Without practicing this knowledge, either chemistry, physics, or biology, you have to practice it, practice, right? Reading, not going to work, right? You have to practice it. You have to first read it, first then understand it. The teacher will understand, will explain you, and you understand it. Then you do your revision by your own retrospective reading and see the questions, and you should be smart in applying your knowledge or the stuff according to the questions that they ask. Okay, right, right. So with that rough idea about the guidance, any questions that you want to ask? Now, if you have any questions throughout this course, please raise your hand and ask. And if you can't ask in public, just send me a cheat, right? I'll answer you. Okay, right. So, sorry? Right. So, first day, we'll start learning the first unit of biology. What is that? Introduction to biology. Okay, right. So, introduction to biology. Now, as I told you, now biology, we are teaching from the very basics. For example, like in Montessori level, right? We are teaching it. Now, first thing that you have to learn is what is biology? What is biology? Yes, study of life. Good. Okay. Now, studying about the organisms. I told you the whole world is divided to two categories, either living things or non-living things. So the science that study about the living organisms is simply biology, right? Now, what do you mean by, now we can see bio, how the word biology has come. Bio means what? As you told, bio means life. Logi, oh, logos means Study. Good. So you may have heard lot of logies: gynecology, gastroenterology, ecology, astrology, right? All these things came from this study, right? What do you mean by astrology? Studying about the space things, or the things there in the space, stars and meteorites and all these things. And ecology, eco means environment. So studying about environment. Gynecology. Now, once you become doctors, after about 7 years, now you have 2 years in the A levels and 5 years in the campus medical faculty. You may learn during the undergraduate course, you may learn gynecology, gastroenterology. And once you get the MBBS degree, you can specialize one field. And you may have seen VOG doctors, VOG, physician, surgeon, gastroenterologist, eye surgeon, nephrologist, neurologist, right? Likewise, all these are logi. Neurology means studying about the nerves. So if you specialized in that thing, you are a specialized doctor or a consultant in neurology, right? So VOG, what do you mean by VOG? What is the abbreviation? VOG. Now your mother should have gone for the VOG when before your birth. Visiting, V means visiting, obstetric and gynecologist, right? Obstetric means dealing with your pregnancy, and gynecology means dealing with all the disease which are specific for them, for the ladies, right? Gynecological matters, right? So basically, biology means learning about the life, learning about the living organisms. Okay, right. When the earth, now in evolution, the scientists have calculated the birthday of earth. Birth, not the birthday. If we know the birthday, we should have celebrated, right? What is the birth of earth? You know the age of the earth. Yes? How many years now? 20? No. 4.6 billion years ago. Right? 4.6 billion years ago. Billions, huh? Not millions. And life started 3.5. This is the birth of the first organism on this earth, which is a unicellular one. The first cell, they assume, originated about 3.5 billion years ago. Okay? Right. And from that one cell, which originated about 3.5 billion years ago, and now, after this time period, how many species or how many species are there on Earth? You can't calculate how many organisms are there. You can't imagine, even you can't assume it. Species means dogs, likewise cattle, man, chimpanzee, donkeys, all these things. They assume that they have about 10 to 100 million of species. Right? Okay. Now, we'll go on reading the note also, right? So what is the biology? What is biology? Write down. Biology is the science. Biology is the science which is focused on studying of living organisms. Studying of living organisms. It is the science which is focused on studying the living organisms, right? So bio means life, logos mean study of. Right. Then the next question comes, right? So what do you mean by life then? Now you told me living things means it is a structure. Those are the structures or the bodies which have life in it. They have the life in it, right? So my next question is, yes, right? My next question, then what is life? Hmm? You can't. You can't define. Good. Anyone who can define, I can define. Yeah. What is the definition of life? They say that they can't. What about the girls? Do you have a definition of for life? Hmm? Right. You know what is the definition of life? That is the definition of life. Definition of life means you can't define. Right. Still the scientists can't define. So if somebody asks what is life, we tell we can't define. But we elaborate more. Right? We are going to tell you it is something special and unique. It is something special, මොකක් හරි something special and unique which cannot be defined by what? Cannot be defined by other two subjects of you. What is your other two subjects? Physics and chemistry, right? So biology is something special, not like chemistry and physics, right? So life is that 3 points, right? Sorry. Life, number one, now in this definition, these are the points. It is something special and unique which cannot be explained by the laws of chemistry and physics. Right? That is the definition of life. You can get it for structured essay, small question for about 5 marks. Right? Okay, you got the definition. The definition is you can't define. But don't just write, there is no definition. Right? The definition is it is something special. එහෙම කියලා දැන් we need some adverbs or adjective to describe something. It is something we don't know that it is something special and unique which cannot be defined with your subjects, with chemistry and physics. Right? Okay, got it? Right, write it down. Definition of life. Life, difficult to define. Still, there is no acceptable definition of life, but for the time being, this is the definition. It is something special and unique. It is something special and unique. That is a 1 point. It is something special and special and unique, which cannot be explained by laws of chemistry and physics. Which cannot be explained by laws of chemistry and physics. Right. And if you take biology, another thing, now, you have this much of species on this earth, about 100 million species. How much of organisms may exist, right? So it is a huge area in science. So for the benefit of studying this thing, the biology, the vast area of biology is divided again into 3 branches, right? 3 branches for the benefit of studying and learning, right? So biology is divided to three branches. One branch is you learn about the animals. Now, you can see when you now bioorganisms, if you take in living things, basically at your grade 5 level, you can see some are plants, some are animals. That classification you can done even a small guy, right? So that's true. So one branch of the biology is learning about animals. That branch is called zoology, right? There is another branch which you learn about the plants that you can see, right? So that is the branch which is called as botany, right? Now, before 2000, year 2000, A levels, right? Uh, for the A levels, they had four subjects: chemistry, physics, and another two subjects, zoology and botany. And for the maths, they also had four subjects: chemistry, physics, applied maths, and pure maths. Now they have combined maths, right? So zoology and botany we combined, and now we learn biology, right? There is another branch. The one thing is about learning about the animals, zoology. The other branch is learning about the plants, and there are some set, another set, which you can't see, just to tell whether they are animals or plants. What are those? Microorganisms. So learning about those organisms is microbiology. So these are the main three branches in biology, right? Zoology, botany, and microbiology, right? So write it down. Zoology, that is studying about the animals. Zoology means studying about the animals. Studying about the animals. Botany means studying about the plants. And microbiology means studying about the microorganisms. Microorganisms. Right. Then, right. Those are the three branches. Now, out of these three branches, now, when you study biology for your entrance as the entrance exam for the medical faculty, now we have some interested areas, right? Special areas with which we have a special interest on this subject of biology, right? There are about 7 fields or areas which is very important when you are dealing as a medical officer or a scientist or a researcher, right? So one is, as I told you, all the organisms are made up of, for the latecomers, all the organisms are made up of what? Cell, right? It is a it is a unit. The basic unit of life is the cell. Name whatever the organism on this earth, all the organisms are made up of either one cell or set of cells, multiple cells, right? So there is a special area where the scientists study specifically about the cell, right? So that is called what? Cytology, right? So that is a special area in biology which some of the scientists and the researchers uh, they study mainly focusing about the cell, their function, their structure, the genes, and all these things are there in the cytology, right? The or the cell biology. The name it says cell biology. And the next one, now there is a, now if you take a multicellular organism, right, guys? If you take a multicellular organisms, all these cells are arranged in a very systematical order, and you have a very developed organizational pattern. Now, if you take the human being and you take me, I have trillions of cells. Now, all these cells, will you see it as a just a bunch of cell like uh, like a sand this packet or a sugar packet or a rice packet? No, each cell is differentiated for a different function, right? And some set of cells are arranged to do a common function. For example, if you take the liver, right, it has so many cells, but that liver cells are adapted for a special function. If you take the heart, there the heart cells are adapted for a, they are specialized for a special function, right? So a set of cells which has the common function is called as tissue, right? So the liver cells, heart cells, muscle cells, they are the tissues, right? So learning about the tissues is called histology. Histology. This is a special field, right? So number one, cell biology within bracket, write it down. Studying about the cells. Number one field is studying about the cells. Number two is histology. That is studying of tissues. Studying of tissues. Okay. So what is the difference? Studying of cells and studying of tissues. Is it a different field? What is the difference? What is the importance of studying that section as a tissue? Yes? Functions, yeah. Now, histology means studying of the tissue. Basically, Pute, we are studying the structural differences, right? For example, now, when you become a doctor, right, you will get a patient, a lady with a breast lump, right? You have a lump. The patient comes and tell you, doctor, I can feel a lump where, for about, then you ask for how long? For about 2 weeks. Is it increasing in size? Yes, it is increasing. Any discharges? For nipple discharges? No, at the moment, no. Now, you have a query in your mind whether this is a what? Cancer or not. So how are you going to confirm it? There are so many ways. First thing, the history, right? This is something related to the medical field because I am a doctor. I am something, I want to narrate my own experience with you, right? Uh, Now, first thing is you ask specific questions, likewise, how long is there? How did you notice it, right? While you are bathing or while you are touching, or else, was it painful that you notice it, right? So the history, then the examination, you have to examine it, right? You have to examine and feel what is the size, what is the contour, and what are the differences that you can see from the normal breast to the this lady's one, right? Now, when you want to, this is something, uh, something you called it kaivaru, okay? Right? Now, when you if you are male doctor, if you want to examine a female patient, especially this type of thing, you want to measure pressure, that is okay. But if you want to examine a female patient, privacy areas, you have to keep a chaperone. What do you mean by chaperone? These are the ethics which came from the age of Hippocrates, right? Now, this patient, you have to examine the breast. You have to touch it and you have to feel it. So you have to keep a colleague from her same sex. Who is that? That is the nurse. Now, you may have a question in your mind, why there are so many nurses in the hospital, and why can't doctor look a patient without a nurse? No, we can't. That is not because we love having a nurse, beautiful nurse by the side. No, that's not the case, right? So there should be a female who assists you, and she will expose the only the examining area and allow you to examine and think, right? So you forget about that thing, and then you feel it, and then what you can do? You took the history, you examine the patient, and you can ask for some investigations. You can do a scan, ultrasound scan, and if you need, you can do a mammogram, another specialized, specific scanning to detect the tumors, right? And then you can do, if it is suspicious by the ultrasound scan and all those things, you want to do a biopsy. What do you mean by biopsy? Have you heard the word of biopsy? Biopsy means we take somewhat large needle and we insert that needle to the tumor. Tumor means that lump, right, which you can feel. So insert that needle to the lump and take a part of that lump or the tumor and take it out. So you get a part of that tissue, part of that tumor from a needle, which is quite large, as the size of a these ballpoint pens. You have the ink tube. It is about that size, right? So you take that. What do you get? You get a part of the tumor. That means you get the part of that tissue, right? So you get it and you send it to the histology lab. There is a lab in the hospital called histology lab. What they do is they examine this part of cell under light microscope and see whether there is any difference, whether there are carcinogenic cells, right? Carcinomatous differences or the characteristics are there in that tissue. ඒකේ බලනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ whether you can see any cancerous cells. Carcinogenic means that thing, right? Whether there is cancerous differences in that tissue. So that is the field of histology. There are histologists, right? After completing the MBBS, you can become a histologist also. So you are consultant histologist, right? Histopathologist. Okay. So that is quite different from cell biology. So there you learn the differentiation or the characteristics of a tissue, right? That is histology. What idea about, right? Just get an idea what are these are the fields in biology. Okay. Right. So the next one. These are now I am explaining what? Some interested areas in biology, right? So all these things are just an introduction about now. After today's lesson, you will get a quite nice idea or picture about what is biology. These are the things that are there in the biology, right? So you will get a good impression or a bad impression. Oh, I say, what is this? Right? Okay, right. The third area that you are going to learn is anatomy. Anatomy. What do you mean by anatomy? Studying about the structure. Yes, good. Now, most of the time in biology, what we learn is structure and function, right? Most of the units during your course in your syllabus is just you learn two things, two areas. What is what you can see, what is made up of, that is the structure, right? And then the function. So in unit 2, what are you going to learn? About what? About the what unit? Cell. So in that unit, you are going to learn the structure of the cell and also the function of the cell. Now in human body also, you learn now when you become a medical student, first 2 years, right? First 2 years, you learn about what? About human beings, of course, yes, because you are not entered to the veterinary faculty. If you enter to the veterinary faculty, you learn about the animals, dogs, and these cattle and all these things, right? But in medical faculty, you learn about the human beings. You learn about the normal human being within the first 2 years. You are not going to learn about the diseases and all these things. To understand and treat the patients, to understand whether this is a disease, you should learn what is normal. Without learning what is normal, you can detect or identify or diagnose a disease, right? So if there are, normally there are breast lumps, so you should know whether there are breast lumps or not. If you have that knowledge only, you can tell that this is abnormal. There are no lumps in the breast usually. So we have to investigate it. We have to see it, right? For that, in the first 2 years, you have to learn the normal human being, normal man, right? So in normal man, you learn three things, right? One field is anatomy. So anatomy means you learn about the gross structure of the human being, right? Right. So anatomy, right, if you want to write it, right? Anatomy means studying about the gross structure of the body. Anatomy means studying about the gross structure of the body. Right. So there you learn, now you have about 9 systems, organ systems in your body, right? So you learn about the muscular system, you learn about the nervous system, you learn about the digestive system, you learn about the excretory system, you learn about the reproductive system, learn about the cardiovascular system, and likewise immune system, right? There are about 9 systems. So one by one, you learn about the gross structure, right? How you are going to learn the gross structure? Just by reading only at the medical faculty, I think. How are you going to learn it? Hmm? You are going to learn it by cutting and chopping a human body cadaver, right? So we should be actually grateful for our people. Now, you may have heard about the students who are learning abroad, the medical stream. They don't have enough bodies, right, to cut and these things. They are learning the anatomy from the computer and from the softwares and some plastic structures. Now here you have enough bodies to cut and see what is really there in our body. Right? So we donate our bodies to the medical faculties, and not only that, from the year third, fourth, and fifth, you have to then learn about the diseases. So you have to deal with the patients at hospital as medical students. Now, our people in Sri Lanka, they are not rejecting to rejecting whether you go and examine or not. Right? Now, foreign in UK, if you are a medical student, you can just You can't just go and examine. I want to examine your tummy. I want to examine your eye. Just please remove your t-shirt. No, you. Who the hell are you? I have paid my bill. I said, get out from my room, Kela. They, they will scold. But our people, if you have a lump, if you have about 200 students in one batch, 200 students will go and feel it. And at the after the examination by the final student or the last student, the 200th student, there will be no lump, right? So surgery is not needed, right? So like guys, now in anatomy, right? Anatomy, you learn about the structure, right? About all these systems and what are there, how the body is made up of. And there is another field that is you learn about the function, right? You cut and see what is heart, how the four chambers are there, right? All those things you feel and see, cut and see. That is anatomy. Then you learn what is the function of the heart, how it works, and how the cardiovascular system functioning, and they are part of job when you maintain the normal human life, right? So that part is called Ute as physiology, right? So physiology is studying about the function, right? So write it down. Physiology is studying about the functions, right? Now, for example, you cut and see the kidneys. How many kidneys are there? Two. How many livers are there? How many hearts are there? How many eyes? Ah, good. Right. So you cut and see the gross structure of the kidney, the arteries that supplies the kidney and the veins, how it goes, and how the ureters are there, right? All this structure. And in physiology, you learn what is the how the excretory function is done by the kidneys, right? How the excretion is done. So each and every organ has a structure, anatomy, architecture, and also it has a function. So learning about the function is physiology. So those are the two subjects that you are going to learn at the first 2 years. And there is another subject, 5, right? That is called Pute biochemistry. Biochemistry. You know chemistry, no? You know physics, you know chemistry. What is biochemistry? Study of chemistry by a bio student. Biochemistry. Yes. Now, not the processes, right? Now, our structure, our body is made up of molecules, right? Biomolecules. And there are so many chemical reactions occurring in each and every living cell in our body, right? For example, respiration. In cellular respiration, we use glucose as the substrate, and you burn it and you take the ATP or the energy from it, and the carbon dioxide is released, right? So learning about this process, how the glucose is used to get energy, right? So that is biochemistry. How, what will happen to the meal that you eat? What will happen to the meal that you eat? Why do you eat? I can't. Why do you eat? Ah, yes. Now, every organism, we need energy for our functions, right? So we take energy from the foods that we eat. as animals. Now, if I am a mango tree, how are I going to get now? If it is a mango tree, or Podicalian, if I am a mango tree, what will I do? Yeah, right? So how do they get? They need energy? Yes. How do they get energy? From sunlight. So the plants have the special ability of trapping the energy which is there in the sunlight, right? So they trap and store that light energy by converting it to a chemical energy. What we do is, after he has done that part, we go and eat it. Or either we eat another animal who eat previously a plant. So the whole world, all the bioorganisms, right, are depending on photosynthesis, either directly or indirectly, right? So what I am focusing is biochemistry. Now, when we take our food, it is rich with some water, protein, carbohydrate, lipids, fats, oil, vitamins, and minerals. And all these things are there. So they are absorbed by our gastrointestinal system and it reaches their target organs. So what will happen to the protein that we eat? What will happen to the carbohydrates that we eat? How does it regulate it from our body? How do you regulate the sugar levels by your insulins and glucagons, right? So all these things, how much of fat is there and what are the fats, saturated fat, unsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat, there are types of fats and how they are dealing with your functions and body. All these things are what? Chemistry. What? Chemistry related to bioorganisms, right? That is biochemistry. Okay, got an idea, right? So third one is anatomy and the fourth one physiology. Physiology, you write studying about the function, right? You wrote it, right? So the biochemistry is studying about biological molecules. Studying about biological molecules is the biochemistry. Right. Number 6, genetics. Genetics. What I am explaining now, these are the areas, special areas which have special interest by the scientists in biology, right? So there is another field, another area called genetics. What do you mean by genetics? In genetics, you study how the characteristics of parents or the qualities or the traits, that means what you can see, what is the color of your eyes, what is the color of your hair, how tall are you, what is the color of your skin. Now all those things are characteristics of your parent generation. And these qualities, characteristics are given to the next generation, right? So the qualities of the parents are inherited by the next generation or the offsprings, right? So studying about that thing. Now my eye color is decided by a set of genes which are responsible for the eye color, right? Now, some of your eye color is decided by your genes, which is there in your cells, right? So those are inherited to the or passed through the to the next generation via the genes of mother and father. Okay, right. So studying about that, what are the DNA acid sequence which is responsible for one gene and how these genes are transmitted to the next generation, about this inheritance. So you study about the inheritance, that is the field of genetics. Okay, right. So that is about genetics, and within brackets you write it, studying the inheritance. Genetics is studying the inheritance. Studying the inheritance. Right. Okay, the last area, special interest, special interesting areas, right? Anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, genetics, and all these things. The last one is the ecology. What do you mean by ecology? We have already discussed, right? Just get an idea. I told you. Now, for the well-being of whole health, Earth, for the well-being of all the organisms, the non-living environment, the non-living world should be very safe for bioorganisms. So we are dealing every time, every organism during his lifetime, we are dealing with the environment. We are dealing with the non-living things, non-living surroundings, right? So we have an interaction between these two, between the living things and the non-living things. So that interaction should be in a very safe and uh, very balanced state. There should be a balance between these two. If it is unbalanced, now we have a problem with, now we have, by the time, with the time, the what about the human population? Human population is keep on increasing, right? How many people are there in the world? Human beings. 8.7, right? Yes, yes. According to the book is written in 2017, but still you write 7 billion until it comes with the revision, revised book, right? Okay. Now, right? Okay. Now, so we started the first unit and we discussed from the very basics what is biology and what is the meaning of biology. The It is studying about the living things and what are the three main branches of biology. Yes, guys, Machan. Yeah. What are the three main branches? Zoology, botany, and microbiology, right? And other than those three branches, including now there are seven another interested areas by the scientists, right? So studying about the cell, studying about the tissues, studying about the cross structure, studying about the function, studying about the biomolecules, studying about the genetics, and studying about the environment. So those are the interested areas by the scientists. Right? Okay, right. Very basics, huh? Okay. Now then, any questions? If you want to ask anything, if you want to clarify something, now maybe easy today, right? But is valid for today and for the whole 2 years. If you have any queries when I teach you, now the most important thing that you have to understand is now the subject matter is there in the book, right? And someone can find it, search in the cyber, right? But why you come for a tuition class or why you go for school? The stuff is there in the book. You can read it. Go and write. Why do you come to a teacher? What do you expect from a teacher? Yes, one thing is that teacher should be able to explain or narrate this in a very palatable manner. You should understand at the end of the day, you should understand these concepts, right? So you should understand these concepts very clearly within the class. So if you can't understand this, if you if you are not sure about what is this, why this is taught, and why this is happening, you should ask, right? I am trying my best teach you not by heart, right? One of my most famous topic or the banner of mine is now I am not a uh, good student who keep my foot in a bucket of water and studying hours and hours. Oh, I can't do that. I didn't do that. I am not such a student from my school age. So I used to understand and I used to question every time, what is this? Why is this? Why this is taught? And why is this thing? Right? So you also should question by yourself, what is this? What is this? And while we are teaching you the concepts and the facts, the scenarios, you should try to understand by the time we teach, right? Then it is very easy to remember, right? But if you do not understand, if it is like the Spirit Poto, Puran or something like that, you have to just read it, and you have to remind it, right? It's quite difficult. You can't win the race very easily if you study in that manner. So if you have any queries, just raise your hand or ask me at any time, right? Okay, right. So this is about the special interest areas. And then there are some, are you tired? You need a break? What's the time? 4:10. Right, right, right. Shall we move on? Go on. Okay. Not sleep, no? Right. Okay. Now, uh, in biology, there are some special concepts
or issues in the world which is related to biology, right? There are some issues which is related to biology. Right? Now, this economic crisis of Sri Lanka, is it related to biology? Not directly related, but indirectly related, because we, to learn biology, we have to live now, we have to eat something now. Because of the crisis, it is very difficult to eat. So it is indirectly related, right? But directly related means there are some issues now: global warming, environmental pollution, biodiversity. Now, these are the issues which are directly related to the field of biology, right? So, at your level, we are learning some of those issues, right, which are directly related to the biology, right? So, number one is you are going to learn is you are going to learn about biodiversity, right? Biodiversity, which is very, very important, right? So, earlier I told you what is biology when I am giving some explanation about the so, biology. So, what is diversity? Bio means among the living organisms, right? So, diversity means divert. One is divert from the other one. Diversity means the variation, right? The variety. There are variety of organisms, right? So this variation is called biodiversity, right? Again, what is the definition of biodiversity? It is the variation or the variety among bioorganisms and their interactions, right? So we have a variety or the difference between each another, and we have interaction with them, right? If you take one species, right? Now, if you take the human beings, do they differ from the cows? Not, but generally, yes. Cows are different from dogs. They are different from crows and birds, and they are different from each type of fish, cats, and plants, right? So the mango tree is different from the jack tree. Likewise, one species, right? One species is different from another species, right? So that is also diversity. And what about considering one species? Now you take the human beings. Are they all same? No. Now we have about 15 to 20 students. Each of us are different from each other. So that is also diversity, right? So generally, biodiversity means this variation, this variety, this difference, right? Which is very, very important for the existence. Hey, why it is important? If the all the organisms on this earth are human beings, then we live. Who to eat, what to eat. If the all the human beings are boys, no girls, what will happen? Can you live? Can't live without ladies. Right? Yes. There should be diversity. Even there should be a diversity, preferably among the species, and also within the same species, there should be a diversity. Right? Without diversity, you can't. Right? Now, yes. Right? Now there are types of diversities. furthermore about the diversity, right? Before you explain more, now you write what is the definition of diversity. Biological diversity, right, is the variety of, write it down, diversity is variety of all living things, variety of all living things and their interactions, and their interactions. Right. Our planet is rich in diversity. And you know, more specifically, out from this planet, from this earth, if you compare the countries, Sri Lanka, is it rich in diversity or not? One of the richest country which have the biodiversity, not the money. Sri Lanka is the poorest country in economy, but richest country in biodiversity. At least we are happy with that, no? Right. So our planet is rich in diversity, and life on Earth started how many years back? No, no, no. That is the age of Earth is 4.6 billion, 3.5 billion years ago. The life on Earth originated 3.5 billion years ago. And the first formed organisms are, what about their pattern of taking the energy? Now there are two types, basically two types of uh, two ways of fulfilling our energy requirement. The plants, they fulfill their energy requirement by themselves. So we call them as autotrophs, right? So they don't want to eat another plant or another animal. They are autotrophs. We need to get the energy and the carbon requirement from some other organism. So we are heterotrophs. So the first organism who originated in Earth about 3.5 billion years ago, is it a heterotroph or an autotroph? It's a heterotroph. He can't supply or fulfill their own energy requirement. So they are heterotrophs who got the energy from the biomolecules which are there in the ocean at that era, which is called the primitive soap, right? Because of these high energetic reactions at that time of the Earth, volcanoes are erupted, high high UV rays are there, lightning is there, methane, and the atmosphere is rich with nitrous oxide, methane, ammonia, and those things. And Earth is attacked by, it is like bombarded with chunks of ice and rocks. So it is like a war field. Because of these high energetic reactions, in the early stage of Earth, the biomolecules originated naturally. That is how the life started. So the first cell which is organized with the membrane, they used to take the energy from those biomolecules which are dissolved in that ocean, right? In that era. Okay. So the first cell which originated, it's a heterotroph and a prokaryote. Have you heard the two words? Now, all these things are you will learn in the upcoming units, right? Prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Have you heard these two words? Eukaryotes and prokaryotes. You heard, Macha? Well, what is the difference between prokaryote and eukaryote? Yes, I can't. I can't. Tell me. Don't get shaken. Why and again? Yes. What do you mean by prokaryote? I'm giving a chance to the ladies also. Otherwise, only the boys answer. What do you mean by Have you learned in O level? Ah, yes, they have told. Sorry? They don't have a proper organization structure of what? Hmm? Be somewhat more specific. No, the thing. So they are the prokaryotes. They also have the genetic materials. Right? They also have the genetic material, but they are not organized as a nucleus. That is why they don't have a nuclear membrane. And an organelle called nucleus is not there in the prokaryote. They have the cell, they have all these biomolecules, but they have the DNA, which is circular in type. They are not entrapped with a membrane. So they are not organized as a nucleus. So they don't have a nucleus. That is the difference. Eukaryotes, they have a nucleus. The basic one difference, right? So the first one, cell which originated on Earth, is a prokaryote and a heterotrophic organism, and also is a anaerobe. They call it anaerobe. Anaerobe. What do you mean by anaerobe? Yes, they they function, their respiration or the cellular respiration is occurring without oxygen. There are two types of cellular respiration, right? One is aerobic respiration, the other one is the anaerobic respiration. And you just imagine the situation, as I told you, billions of years ago, when the first cell is originated on this earth, I told you that it is like the war field, right? All these reactions and lightning, volcanic eruptions, and all these things are there. In the atmosphere, it is a reducing one. It has very, very little oxygen in it, right? All the atmosphere is filled with nitrogen, hydrogen, methane, ammonia, likewise things, right? So they don't have oxygen. So they can't do aerobic respiration. So that is why they started with anaerobic respiration, right? Are you aerobic or anaerobic? Sure, sure. Right, good. Right. So anaerobic. So the first one who started is a prokaryotic, heterotrophic, and anaerobic cell, right? So after this is the first cell which started or originated on Earth 3.5 billion years ago. And after 3.5 billion years, now what you have on this Earth? There are so much of, you can't count it, right? There are so much of organisms on this Earth, plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, viruses, and there are likewise, there are huge number of, the whole world is filled with different types of bioorganisms, right? So look at this journey. 3.5 billion years ago, one cell originated on Earth, which has these three qualities. And now you have this a lot of types of organisms on this Earth, right? So what they say is they have about 10 to 100, they assume this, right? They have about 10 to 100 million species on this Earth, right? Now just imagine the diversity that they have here, right? So how much of diversity is there among these huge number of organisms and huge number of species? there is a high biodiversity. So why we are so much bothered about this biodiversity? With the increment of this human population, we are destroying the environment and we are destroying the biodiversity. So retrospectively, that destruction or that harmful effect to the economy, so ecology, right, for the environment that we made by the human beings will be not safe for the existence of human beings, right? That is why we are studying about the diversity to protect it. Okay, right. Go to the note. They assume that there are about 10 million to 100 million species. 10 million to 100 million species in the world. There is a dynamic relationship between living world and inanimate world. Each and every organism has a specific role in the environment for the existence of biosphere. Right? Right. So if you take this biodiversity, now you have three types of diversities. Now we are explaining something more about the diversity, right? You know, the first type, species diversity. So what do you mean by species diversity? Simple. Diversity means the variation or the difference among bioorganisms. Now a subcategory of diversity is species diversity. By the name itself, it is meant by what? The difference or the variations among different species. Remember this thing, right? Remember this thing because you get misled. Now, when you see the species, some students write species diversity means the difference within a species. No, species diversity is the difference or the variation among different species. That is species diversity. Some of you are sleeping. Right? So, species diversity. Another category is genetic diversity. Genetic diversity. Now, what do you mean by genetic diversity? Genetic diversity can what? And that is the previous one, right? That means you take one species, you consider one species. In that species, among the individuals, you have variations. So you take the human beings. Okay. Now human beings are different. Now this is my statement. Human beings are different from donkeys. What is that diversity? Species diversity. The next statement, Erendra sir is different from Panduka. What is that diversity? Genetic diversity. We, both of us are in the same species, but genetically, Erendra sir is different. My genetics is different. So we have genetical diversity, right? That is the second type of diversity. Got it? When I ask in the exam question comes in after about 2 years, you get a question in your structured essay. Please please, you don't write, please, right? So they ask, briefly explain the following terms. A, species diversity. B, aerobic, anaerobic respiration, likewise, right? So species diversity කියලා තිබ්බ ගමන් you don't write. That is the diversity among individuals in the same species. Don't write it, right? You got it, right? Species diversity is the difference or the variation among different species. And the genetic diversity is the difference among individuals in the same species. Got it. Third one is ecosystem diversity. That's another part. Now, it's true. You have the species diversity. That's obvious. And you have a genetic diversity. Yes, that is also true. We can see the individuals. Now, if you take a bunch of dogs, each dog has a different appearance. Now, we can find, we can identify who is my dog, right? So, altogether, when you identify them as a bunch of dogs, each and everyone we can individually find them, right? That's also true, obvious. Then what is this ecosystem diversity? So on this earth, you have different ecosystems, right? I mean, we used to go to Nuwara to have some relaxation for our holiday, isn't it? Some go to Nuwara, some go to Trincomalee, some go to Jaffna, someone go to Singharaja. So if you take this country, Sri Lanka, different areas have different climates, different environment, not only the climate. Now, Nuwara is totally different from Pasiguda, isn't it? The nature of the human beings, nature of the dogs, the temperature, climate, what you name, whatever, everything is different. So that is an ecosystem, right? So that is within Sri Lanka. If you take globally all the countries, now the Qatar, Dubai is different from New Zealand, is different from Iceland, Canada, different from India and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, right? So some there you have deserts, you have the rainforest, you have the mangroves, Kadulanavan, right? So there are some different types of ecosystems. There is a diversity among these ecosystems. That is the diversity of that ecosystem. The organisms live in those ecosystems are different, right? The type of organisms, number of organisms, and their habitat, their behavior, all these are different according to the ecosystem. So there is a difference among bioorganisms according to their species, among the each and every individuals, and according to their ecosystem where they live. Right? Got it. That is it about the biodiversity. Okay. So you learn about one important issue, which is really the first one we learned. This is an issue which is related to biology, right? What is that? Biodiversity. So you learn how this biodiversity comes from and what is the definition of biodiversity and the importance of biodiversity and what are the types of biodiversity. Biodiversity types tika monawada, right? Specific species diversity, genetic diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Okay, got it? Right. So write it down. Now, species diversity is the biological variation in between species. Biological variation in between species. Sorry. Yes. Now, number one, the first type is species diversity. Species diversity is the biological variation, biological variation in between species. Biological variation in between in between species is species diversity. Right? Number two, genetic diversity. Genetic diversity. What is genetic diversity? Again, the biological variation that occurs within the species. That occurs within the species. Biological variation that occurs within the species is genetic diversity, right? That is genetic diversity. So the third and the last one, ecosystem diversity, is the variations found in in between ecosystems. Variations found in between ecosystems. Is ecosystem diversity. Right. So that is about the biodiversity. Right. The next part, and if you want to have some water, take some water. If you have any toffees or anything, take a 1 minute break. What is your name? Your name? Arfat. You? Fikri. Shali. It start from this end. Try to remember. Okay. So we learned about the biodiversity. Second thing that we are going to learn is about the human body and function. Right. Now, as I told you, when you enter the medical faculty, you will learn these things in thoroughly, right? About the normal body, right? So learning about the structure of human body is what? What is that field? What is learning about the structure? Anatomy. Learning about the function? Physiology. Learning about the biomolecules? Biochemistry, right? So, like biodiversity, this is another area, another issue that we have to learn as biology students, even you go to the medical faculty or not, you go to the marine, this aquatic biology or not, right? Now, learn to have a healthy life, you should have a good idea about our body and its function. So, right? So that's good to become a science student, that you will learn the basic anatomy, that is the structure and the function of our body, right? Now, this structure and the function of our body is learned through organ systems. Now I told you we are organisms which have trillions and billions of cells, and all these cells are organized in a systematic manner, a scientific manner, and sets of cells have acquired for some specific duty. That is why we call it at organs and tissues, right? So all our body, human body, can be divided into different systems, right? That is what you do when you are cutting and chopping at first year. Take a cadaver, you call it cadaver, right? Okay. So we have different systems, right? So we learn the structure, we learn the function according to these organ systems, right? So what are the systems that you know? Just tell me, as you know, respiratory system. Okay, one by one, we'll write it. One is respiratory. Yeah, then digestive. Next one from the ladies' side, circulatory system. Respiratory system. Hey, bamme, ලියලා තියෙන්නේ. Reproductive is interested system. Yes. Immune system. Let the girls are also a chance. What else? Sorry? Lymphatic system. Hmm? That is included to the circulatory part. Nervous system. Good. Hmm? Excretory system. Circulatory system. Musculoskeletal system. What else? Hmm. One important. Have you heard of hormones which regulate most of your functions? Thyroxine hormones, LH, estrogen, progesterone, okay, insulin. Now, all these hormones, collectively, their functions are studied in the system of endocrine system. Right? You know, you have the endocrinologist. Endocrinology means studying about the endocrine system, right? So endocrinologist, they are doctors, special consultants. After MBBS, if you want, you can become a endocrinologist. With what diseases are they dealing with? The most common disease, one of the most common disease in Sri Lanka, also in international level, global. Never respirate reproduction. Forget I know that AIDS is very important, HIV is very dangerous and sarcastic, but there is nothing to deal with the hormone. Hormone, yes, because of your high testosterone things, you can get HIV, but now endocrine, the most one of the most common thing is diabetes, right? The diabetes mellitus, right? Now, what do you mean by diabetes? Right? What do you mean by diabetes? Simply, you have high glucose levels in your blood, right? In your blood, you have high glucose levels. So that glucose level is regulated by two hormones, right? Insulin and glucagon, right? So if you have, if you don't have enough insulin in your body, if you do not excrete or secrete enough insulin, what will happen? It can't control the glucose level, so your glucose level will go up, and you can get diabetes, right? And if your insulin or if your cells is not sensitive for insulin, still again there are various types of diabetes and various etiologies for having diabetes, and you can, so all these are included for the endocrine field. And you may have some menstrual disorders with the ladies, right? What are the menstrual disorders? Now, usually, right? Usually the females get periods from how many days? You don't know. He knows. He knows. I expected the answer from him, right? So usually 28 days you get periods, right? But this can change. Some some ladies, some girls, they get periods before 28 days. Once in 2 weeks or 3 weeks they get periods. So heavy bleeding. That is a disorder, right? And some get oligomenorrhea. That means they they will not get the periods in 28 days, and it is delayed for about 2 months, 3 months. Sometimes ladies get delayed menstruation. So it is something to deal with the imbalance of estrogen and progesterone, right? So all these things are included in the endocrine system, right? So, too much for the endocrine. So the respiratory system means what? Respiratory system, you inhale and exhale. So you learn about the starting from the nose up to the alveoli. You learn about the what? The oral cavity, nostrils, from the two lungs, all these things, bronchus and everything, right? The digestive system is you study the function and the structure about what will, starting from the mouth to the anus, about the structure and what will happen to the foods that you take, right? Circulatory system, starting from the heart, you have four chambers. It's a pump. So you have a venous system, an arterial system of vasculature, and you learn about those things in circulatory system. Reproductive system, we have females and males, right? So they have different reproductive systems, and we learn about those things in the reproductive system, right? An immune system is the immunity means the ability of you to fight against the foreign bodies and foreign organisms, right? Immune system. You know, can you remember the corona period, right? So, what about the death rates? Comparing our death rates to the death rates in America, UK, Italy, yes, China. What about the death rates? Are we in a good, we were in a good position or a bad position? Good. Very few died in Sri Lanka, but a lot of people died in UK, which is our godfather in medicine. He read Oxford textbook of medicine, Oxford textbook of surgery, and everything, Oxford textbook of psychiatry, everything we learn from the Sudha fellows in Great Britain. But they could manage this. I assume two reasons. One thing is this thing. One reason, maybe a one reason. Why? What about the immunity of 10 people and our people? Who has the best immunity? Better immunity. Why? He does the bloody foods. They eat very high quality, very safety foods. So they don't build natural immunity by themselves. We are eating all these short eats and those these the paratas and everything, vade, vade, everything which are there by the roots, and every dust is there, mice are running over the paratha, and we eat everything and we stay strong, no? So corona, what the bloody hell? Corona can kill us? No. We have the immunity, right? So one thing is one thing can be that thing, right? So the other thing is the way we manage the patients, manage this pandemic, right? Now, what we told to the public is, if you have fever, if you have headache, if you have difficulty in breathing, what we ask them to do is come every time by the TV, by the radio, by the newspapers, through these PHI, nurses, doctors, they announce the public, please come to the hospital if you have these types of these type of symptoms, right? And if you are not coming to the hospital, what we did? We sent bunch of policemen and then got the fellow and kick them into the van and then admitted to the hospital. But in UK, what they did? They get a call for the call center. Doctor, I have these symptoms. I have fever and some malaise, and yes, oh, right, you are having fever. Okay, you be at home, take a rest, have some water, be there. Then after about 2 days, again the call comes. Okay. Yes, I am having some difficulty in breathing. I can't breathe. I'm also in headache. I'm feeling faintishness. It's so. So be at home, take some water, and have a rest. And in another couple of days, the call is given by a family member. Now he is dying. He's grasping. Shall I get the patient to the hospital? No, no, no. Let him go calm. Let him be there. The soul will have they call it rest in peace. So let them rest in peace. So that is the difference. We got the patients to the hospital and we get into the thing, ICU admissions, and we did everything. We manage the patient actively. They manage the patient at home with rest, water, and sleep. They finally rested in peace. So that is immune system. So nervous system, starting from the brain, spinal cord, and all the peripheral nerves. All our functions, all our movements are controlled by the nervous system, right? From our brain. Either you aware of those things or unaware of those things. Without your sensation, without your control, some of the functions are controlled, and some of the functions are controlled by your intention. That's nervous system. And excretory means now you have each and every cell in your body is functioning, and each of these cell is experiencing thousands of reactions each and every time. So some of these reactions are anabolic and some are catabolic. So as a result of these reactions, they have the waste products in a cell, right? Like in our house, after the after one day, you have lot of waste to throw to the bucket, right? Likewise, all our cells have some waste products as a result of various reactions. All these waste products are collected and they are concentrated to a medium called urine, which is made up by kidneys. Right? So the urine is made up by the waste products which are circulating in the bloodstream. Right? So then those waste products are excreted from the body as urine. Right? So that is about the excreted and muscular and skeletal system. About the movements, we should have a skeletal system, right? The bone system, right? To maintain our structure, maintain our position, and also for the movements, we need the structure, the skeleton, right? That is the bony system that we have, skeletal system. So this skeletal system is attached with various types of muscles. Now, bone system itself, you can't move, right? Now, the human body is moved and all these movements are made by the muscles. So muscles are attached to the bones and they do these movements, right? That is muscular and skeletal system. Endocrine, we discussed, right? So those are the systems, different systems in our body, and we learn about, we get an idea about the human being, about the human body by studying all these systems. Okay, right. Write down the systems. Digestive system, yes. Ah, yes. Excretory system is going for the excretion. Right, okay. Digestive system, number one, digestive system. Number two, cardiovascular system. Number two, cardiovascular system. Number three, respiratory system. Number four, immune system. Excretory system or the urinary system. Nervous system. Endocrine system. Muscular skeletal system. Right. So we'll call it a day, right? So this is the first day of your biology class. You are starting a new journey and you want to win this battle, right? I hope that your target or the goal was changed by the first day class. Now, what is your target? Island rank. Yes, island first. Target island first. So island. If you target the island first, even you become island 2000, the person 2000, still you, right? From the whole country, 2000 students are taken to the medical faculty. So take your target as the island. Yes, I will become the island first. But don't go and say it to the other, hey, Macha, I'm the island first. Don't go and say this, right? Now you have this target in your mind and work for it. Work for it. Have an intention, have a great determination, and you plan it and do it, right? Okay. So any questions? No? Are you okay with the class? Right. Okay, thank you. And if you have any queries even after the class, yes, you can ask. Right. Okay, then wish you all the best. See you guys. Bye.